what is Antifa? It's not anti-fascist, right? You can't let the media switch it on you. It really is truly Bolshevik communist groups that have embedded and trained paramilitary communist organizations for decades. And that's what it is. So when we say like, okay, the Jews control the world or this or that, it's like, okay, what do you mean by that? Like I always ask people, what do you mean by that? And the truth is what people are not talking about today, and I think we learned from USAID is like, what's a huge problem is that these NGOs are going completely under the radar, getting no attention because everybody wants to talk about which group or this group that runs the world, but nobody wants to name names. These groups have names. They're not all run by Jews.
1,000%.
But I said they're not all run by Jews. And also, the crazy part is that even though a lot of them are, the weirder part when you go down is that these groups are legal. They're operating under our charter. We're paying for them with our tax dollars.
Yes.
And they're oftentimes working against us in the world, not just domestically, but like the CIA. They are in fomenting and enacting all of the things that we hate. And I know you know a lot about this, but I'm telling people, it's like, why are we going to war? Well, the money's in the Reconstruction.
Exactly.
Right? And so it's like, but who's making the money? It's the NGOs. Why do you think every politician has an NGO? Everyone's got a foundation, you know? Everyone's got a nonprofit foundation.
Well, that's because the Rockefellers built the model back in the 30s. That's why. This is a long game. This goes back to before the First World War. What happens after every war? Reconstruction, they try to put in the League of Nations. That didn't work. One world government, top down, out of Brussels. What happened in World War II? They came out of that, and between 1943 and 1954, the entire world became funded by the United States taxpayer everywhere. Every overthrow, it's coming out of USAID, it's coming out of National Endowment for Democracy, it's coming out of this. The question is why, and how did this happen? And to me, I get the whole Jew thing, but I'm telling you, to me, at the tip of the spear that is running the whole world like they are the parent company of planet Earth. This is how I try to explain it. They're the parent company of planet Earth in their minds. Some of their representatives happen to be in Bilderberg today. So they're this group of people that believe that they're the superclass. I personally believe that they are godless people that believe that they are gods and superior. They call themselves the superclass. But what we have to understand is that this is a global financial, what I call the international banking cartel. That's at the end of the day funding all this laundered money for regime change, for capture of nations' resources, for internal struggle, this stupid responsibility to protect fraud. And what I found out in my recent stuff, and I'm probably going to have to write a book about it because I can't even believe what I'm finding out, is that the Bank of International Settlements is probably why the entire operation to just point at the Jews is. But what I will tell you, which is the psyop here, is that the people that I've identified as really benefiting on the highest level from world wars, which they want us in World War III, this is part of it, what's happening in America.
Because World War II was the last great reset. Now we have the whole international monetary system was built from that, right?
We got so screwed after
Let's talk
World
about
War
it for
II.
a second. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so let me tell you what I'm looking at right now. So what I need to know is who is Alan Dulles and who was he working for? Because Alan Dulles, who started the CIA, was formerly in the OSS, was working in Switzerland, basically arm in arm with the Bank of International Settlements that was taking a lot of money from Germany during the Nazi regime, was making money hand over fist, billions of dollars. As much as people want to talk about the Holocaust and all of that, they killed a lot of people by working them to death in factories, and not just in Germany. In France, in Holland, in Lithuania, in Czechoslovakia. I mean, people don't understand Ukraine. So the Reich, Third Reich, was making a ridiculous amount of money. Well, where was that money going? Into the Reich Bank. Well, it looks like in 1944, a document that was released by the CIA in 1965 said that there was a meeting. There's a bunch of articles out there about it. The document's real. You can look it up. That basically Hitler and his inner circle, and then what were called at the time industrialists. And if you look at Rockefeller's memoir, he called himself an industrialist around that time. So that's the entire banking sector right there. And then the multinational corporations also, they all got together with the banks to decide how to start funneling money out of Nazi Germany before Hitler surrendered. So I've said for a long time, maybe Germany lost the war, but I don't think the people funding the war lost the war. I think
Do you
they
think
just
Hitler knew
yes,
that they were doing this to him? Because
yes.
You know who Jack Cruz is?
no,
Okay. Well, you would love Jack Cruz, by the way. You should have him on your show. He's
definitely.
a crypto billionaire and just genius guy.
Great.
And he was telling me that he really doesn't like Hitler at all, right? So like but he's also very woke on the Jews, meaning like he's very like, okay, yeah, Hitler was right about, you know, the international Jewish families in the bank, but like Hitler's not some like person you should be worshiping, or like, you know, all these young kids have this idea that he's like some savior to the white
Well, he
race.
was a struggling artist, is the truth.
That's what he's
And
saying.
he
He was
was
a pawn.
groomed.
He was saying he was a pawn.
He was
from the
groomed.
crown. Like
Groomed. It's a little different. I think that they found. Remember, he was going around. He was an artist. He wrote Mein Kampf. I mean, that's real.
it was a good book.
But
well, I'm saying it was very well written.
well, it's still read a lot, right?
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I think people such as Kissinger, a lot of the international bankers, certainly the Crown, the Netherlands, a lot of people, Switzerland, they were enamored. They had a huge event at Madison Square Garden where he was the guest of honor in America. He was on the cover of Time magazine. Supposedly, the truth was that he was somewhat of an actor and that he had charisma and all the skills that a major movie star would have, and also this anger, and that he was groomed to be exactly what he ended up being. Not that he's not responsible for it.
I disagree with Jack where I go, you could be right. I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. You weren't there either. I wouldn't know.
None of us were.
But I do think that it also could be too that, you know, I think he did care about the German people. I think it's clear from Mein Kampf he cared. And I also think it's clear that he did believe to an extent that there were these international Jewish like financiers who basically wanted Europe to be what we see it to be today. They had this plan for the West and for this international banking system and these things, and they're going to strip Europe of its culture. And I think he wanted to prevent that. But that's what I'm wondering. Was he ignorant? Did he get used?
Well, that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
It appears that he became that. But I'm telling you,
he didn't lose, and I don't think he thought he was going to lose when he went into war. But Jack says he did. Jack says he knew, and it was all part of the plan. He lost intentionally, and I was like, I don't know if I believe that.
I don't know if that's true, because by the end, I think he was a real drug addict, and he was losing power. I mean, it looks like he really went. Whatever the case may be, we will never know. What I do know is that there was a meeting with all of these people, knowing that they were going to surrender and to try to get all the money out of Germany, billions and billions of dollars, which a lot of that money went to the Bank of International Settlements, which somehow, to this day, has sovereign immunity like the Vatican. Nobody's ever been able to look in it. Nobody really knows anything about it. It's in Switzerland, and it's totally immune from any kind of investigation, any kind of request, any kind of anything. And here's the crazy part. Our Federal Reserve and our 12 governors in America go to the Bank of International Settlements for closed-door meetings every couple months and then come back here. And that's not just here. That's bankers all over the world.